Mental strength is not an inherent trait. It's not something you're born with. It's a skill that is cultivated, developed, and refined over time. If life doesn't get easier, then what does it mean to become mentally strong? What does it look like to stand tall in the face of adversity? To keep moving forward when everything inside you wants to give up? It starts with one simple yet profound idea. Your mindset shapes your reality. What you believe about yourself, your potential, and your circumstances will directly influence your actions and ultimately, your life. We all experience challenges. We all face moments of doubt, confusion, and fear. It's natural. But in those moments, you have a choice. You can choose to succumb to the pressure, to let the weight of uncertainty and hardship define you. Or you can choose to rise, to push through the discomfort, and to transform those challenges into stepping stones. The key to this transformation lies in understanding and mastering your mind. When you learn to control your thoughts, you unlock the ability to control your outcomes. The first step on this journey is to reprogram your mindset. Think of it as cleaning a lens through which you see the world. If that lens is clouded with fear, negativity, and limiting beliefs, everything you see will be distorted. You'll doubt your potential, question your worth, and convince yourself that your dreams are out of reach. But when you learn to clear the lens, to replace fear with courage and self-doubt with confidence, the world opens up to you in ways you never imagined. Imagine waking up every day with the belief that you can, that no matter what challenges come your way, you have the mental strength to navigate through them. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing someone who is capable, resilient, and unstoppable. This isn't just a pipe dream. This is your potential waiting to be unlocked. And it starts with the power of your thoughts. Your mindset is a choice. Every day, you have the power to choose how you approach the world. You can either let the negativity around you dictate your actions, or you can decide to see things differently. The choice is yours. But before you can make this choice, you need to understand how your mindset is currently operating. We all have beliefs and assumptions that guide our actions. Some of them are empowering, but many are limiting. These limiting beliefs are often formed early in life and become so ingrained that we stop questioning them. They dictate how we approach challenges, how we see ourselves, and what we believe we're capable of. For example, you might have the belief that you're not good enough for a particular goal, or that failure is something to avoid at all costs. These beliefs act as mental barriers, keeping you stuck and preventing you from reaching your full potential. To reprogram your mindset, the first step is to identify these limiting beliefs. This requires honesty and self-reflection. You need to ask yourself, what beliefs are holding me back? Where did these beliefs come from? Are they based on facts? Or are they simply assumptions I've picked up over time? These beliefs could be the result of past failures, the opinions of others, or the expectations society has placed on you. But none of them are necessarily true. Once you've identified your limiting beliefs, the next step is to challenge them. This is where the real work begins. It's not enough to simply recognize that these beliefs exist. You need to actively question their validity. Are they really true? Have you ever proved them wrong? What evidence do you have that supports or contradicts them? By questioning these beliefs, you begin to break their hold over you. One powerful way to challenge limiting beliefs is through self-affirmations. These are positive statements that you repeat to yourself daily, reinforcing empowering beliefs about yourself. For example, if you have the belief that you're not capable of success, you can replace it with, "I am capable of achieving my goals." The more you repeat these affirmations, the more your subconscious mind will begin to accept them as truth. Visualization is another powerful tool in reprogramming your mindset. When you visualize yourself succeeding, your brain begins to associate success with positive emotions, making it easier for you to believe in your ability to achieve. Take a moment each day to close your eyes and imagine yourself overcoming challenges and achieving your goals. Feel the pride, the excitement, and the sense of accomplishment that comes with success. This mental practice can significantly boost your confidence and shift your mindset toward success. But reprogramming your mindset doesn't stop there. It also involves learning to let go of past failures. Too often, we allow past mistakes to define who we are. We convince ourselves that because we failed once, we're destined to fail again. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Failure is not a reflection of your worth. It's simply a part of the journey. Every successful person has failed countless times before they achieved greatness. The difference is that they didn't let those failures define them. Instead, they viewed them as opportunities to learn and grow. When you shift your perspective on failure, you start to see it as a stepping stone rather than a roadblock. Each failure provides valuable feedback. It teaches you what doesn't work, which helps you refine your approach and get closer to your goal. By letting go of the fear of failure, you free yourself to take risks, try new things, and learn from every experience. Another key element of reprogramming your mindset is embracing gratitude. Gratitude has the power to transform your mindset from one of lack and negativity to one of abundance and positivity. When you practice gratitude, you shift your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. This simple shift in perspective can have a profound impact on your mental state. Start by writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. They can be big or small, anything from a supportive friend to the beauty of nature around you. Over time, this practice trains your brain to focus on the positives in your life, making it easier to stay optimistic and resilient, even in difficult times. As you continue to reprogram your mindset, it's also important to surround yourself with positivity. Your environment plays a crucial role in shaping your beliefs and attitudes. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it can be difficult to maintain a positive mindset. Seek out people, books, podcasts, and experiences that uplift and inspire you. Engage in conversations that challenge you to think differently and expand your perspective. The more you fill your environment with positivity, the easier it will be to reprogram your mindset. At the same time, it's important to be mindful of your self-talk. The way you talk to yourself has a huge impact on your mindset. Negative self-talk can reinforce limiting beliefs and hold you back from reaching your full potential. Pay attention to the thoughts that run through your mind. Are they empowering or disempowering? When you catch yourself thinking negatively, challenge those thoughts and replace them with positive, empowering ones. Reprogramming your mindset is not an overnight process. It takes time and consistent effort. There will be moments when old, limiting beliefs resurface, and that's okay. Each time this happens, simply acknowledge it and redirect your thoughts toward a more empowering belief. The more you practice, the easier it will become to maintain a positive, growth-oriented mindset. As you begin to reprogram your mindset, you'll notice a shift in how you approach challenges. You'll stop seeing obstacles as insurmountable walls and start seeing them as opportunities to grow and learn. You'll believe in your ability to succeed, even when things get tough. And most importantly, you'll realize that you have the power to shape your reality. Your mindset is the key to unlocking your potential and creating the life you want. In the coming sections, we will dive deeper into how to build on this foundation, developing the core elements of mental strength, self-belief, emotional control, resilience, and discipline that will allow you to achieve anything you set your mind to. But for now, take a moment to reflect on your mindset. What beliefs are you holding on to that may be limiting your potential? What empowering beliefs can you start embracing today? The journey of mental strength begins with this awareness. And once you start shifting your mindset, the possibilities become endless. Building unshakable self-belief is the next crucial step in developing mental strength. After all, no amount of skill or knowledge will carry you through life's challenges if you don't first believe in yourself. Without self-belief, you'll constantly question your worth, hesitate at opportunities, and allow doubts to dictate your actions. But with self-belief, you unlock the courage to act, to take risks, and to persist even when things get tough. Self-belief is the cornerstone of mental strength. It's the internal force that propels you forward, even in the face of adversity. The truth is, self-belief isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you develop over time, through intentional actions and repeated practice. Just as you wouldn't expect to become physically strong overnight, you can't expect your self-belief to grow without consistent effort. However, the good news is that with the right mindset and tools, you can cultivate unshakable confidence in yourself, no matter where you are on your journey. At its core, self-belief starts with understanding your intrinsic worth. This is the foundational idea that you are worthy simply because you exist. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your worth is determined by your achievements, social status, or the approval of others. But when you tie your worth to external validation, you place your happiness and confidence in the hands of others, leaving yourself vulnerable to the whims of society or those around you. Instead, your value comes from within. You are worthy because you are unique, valuable, and capable of growth. This understanding forms the basis for unshakable self-belief. To build this belief, it's crucial to acknowledge your strengths and accomplishments. Too often, we focus on our weaknesses and mistakes, allowing them to define us. We think of ourselves in terms of what we haven't yet achieved, instead of what we have. The first step in boosting your self-belief is to reflect on your past successes, no matter how small they might seem. These successes are evidence of your ability, resilience, and potential. Write down a list of your achievements, whether it's completing a challenging project, overcoming a personal setback, or achieving a goal you set for yourself. Revisiting these moments serves as a powerful reminder that you are capable. Another important tool in cultivating self-belief is setting small, manageable goals. When you set goals that align with your values and priorities, and you follow through on them, you reinforce the belief that you are capable and reliable. These small victories accumulate over time, gradually strengthening your confidence and proving to yourself that you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. For instance, if your goal is to get fit, starting with just 10 minutes of exercise a day may seem small, but by consistently following through, you build not only physical strength, but mental strength as well. Each time you honor your commitment, you reinforce the belief that you can achieve your bigger goals. Reframing failure is another crucial aspect of developing self-belief. In society, failure is often seen as something to avoid at all costs. But failure is a natural and necessary part of growth. The most successful people in the world have failed countless times before reaching their goals. The difference is that they don't see failure as a reflection of their abilities. Instead, they see failure as feedback, a chance to learn and grow. Every time you fail, you have the opportunity to reframe the experience and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time? By viewing failure as an opportunity for growth rather than a roadblock, you build resilience and reinforce your self-belief. In addition to reframing failure, positive self-talk is another powerful tool for cultivating self-belief. The way you talk to yourself matters. Negative self-talk, thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," "I'll never succeed," or "I can't do this," undermines your confidence and reinforces self-doubt. To overcome this, it's essential to replace negative thoughts with empowering affirmations. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not qualified for this," reframe it to, "I am constantly learning, and I bring unique value to this role." By changing your inner dialogue, you rewire your brain to focus on your strengths and potential, rather than your perceived limitations. One of the most powerful ways to build self-belief is through visualization. Visualization is the process of mentally rehearsing your desired outcomes. When you vividly imagine yourself succeeding, your brain begins to associate success with positive emotions, which boosts your confidence and makes it easier to take action. The more specific and detailed your visualization, the more powerful it becomes. For instance, if you're preparing for a public speaking event, visualize yourself standing confidently in front of your audience, speaking with clarity, and receiving positive feedback. This mental rehearsal primes your mind for success and boosts your self-belief, making it easier to execute when the time comes. But self-belief isn't just about mental practices. It's also about surrounding yourself with positivity. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, and the environments you expose yourself to all influence your mindset. If you're constantly around people who doubt your abilities, or if you're exposed to negative content that reinforces self-doubt, it can be difficult to maintain confidence in yourself. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with positive, supportive individuals who believe in your potential, you reinforce your own self-belief. Seek out relationships that inspire and challenge you to grow, and distance yourself from negative influences that drag you down. It's also important to practice self-compassion throughout this process. Building self-belief doesn't mean expecting perfection. In fact, expecting perfection can be one of the biggest obstacles to self-belief. When you inevitably make mistakes, treat yourself with kindness rather than harsh self-criticism. Acknowledge that you are human and use setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow. Self-compassion allows you to move through challenges with resilience and grace, strengthening your belief in your ability to overcome obstacles. Self-belief is also nurtured through consistency. Developing lasting confidence in yourself isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice. Each time you take action, whether it's setting a goal, learning from failure, or simply practicing positive self-talk, you reinforce your belief in yourself. The more consistent you are with these practices, the stronger your self-belief becomes, even on days when you don't feel confident. Continue taking small steps forward. Over time, you'll notice that your belief in yourself grows stronger, and those self-doubts become quieter. Lastly, remember that self-belief is an evolving journey. There will be days when you feel on top of the world, and other days when you question yourself. That's normal. The key is to keep going, to keep practicing, and to trust that your belief in yourself will continue to grow. When you embrace this journey, you will unlock your true potential and achieve things you once thought were impossible. Self-belief is the foundation for everything else. It's the starting point for developing mental strength, resilience, and the confidence to achieve your goals. When you believe in yourself, you open up a world of possibilities. You begin to see obstacles as challenges to overcome, not barriers to your success. And with every step you take, you build a deeper, more unshakable belief in your ability to create the life you desire. Now that you've started to strengthen your self-belief, it's time to put that belief into action. In the next section, we'll dive into mastering your emotions, because emotional control is just as important as self-belief in achieving lasting success. Emotions are powerful. They can drive you to achieve extraordinary things, or they can hold you back, creating barriers that feel insurmountable. Learning to master emotional control is one of the most vital aspects of mental strength. It's not about suppressing your feelings or becoming emotionally detached. Rather, it's about recognizing and understanding your emotions, so they don't dictate your actions in ways that prevent you from moving forward. When you master emotional control, you gain the ability to make rational decisions, to stay composed under pressure, and to channel your emotions into positive action. Emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are simply signals. They reflect your internal state and your reactions to external circumstances. However, if left unchecked, emotions can overwhelm you, cloud your judgment, and impair your ability to think clearly. This is where emotional control comes in. By learning to respond to your emotions in a healthy, constructive way, you can ensure that they work for you, rather than against you. The first step in mastering emotional control is developing emotional awareness. This means paying attention to what you're feeling, without judgment. When you experience an intense emotion, whether it's anger, fear, sadness, or excitement, take a moment to acknowledge it. Instead of reacting impulsively, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Where is this emotion coming from? Sometimes, emotions arise in response to external triggers, like a stressful situation at work or an unexpected setback. Other times, they may stem from internal beliefs or past experiences. Understanding the root cause of your emotions helps you respond in a more mindful and intentional way. For example, if you feel anxious before an important presentation, you might recognize that the anxiety is coming from a fear of failure or judgment. By identifying this fear, you can address it more effectively. Instead of allowing the anxiety to control you, you can use it as motivation to prepare thoroughly and perform at your best. Recognizing your emotions empowers you to make decisions based on your values and goals, rather than being driven solely by your immediate feelings. Once you've become more aware of your emotions, the next step is to create space between feeling and reaction. This is critical for emotional control. When emotions run high, your brain's fight or flight response often kicks in, leading to quick, reactive decisions. In moments of stress or frustration, You might say something you don't mean, or take an action you later regret. To prevent this, practice pausing before reacting. Take a few deep breaths, count to 10, or remove yourself from the situation for a moment. This simple act of pausing allows your rational mind to take over, so you can choose a more thoughtful, deliberate response. Instead of reacting impulsively, you give yourself the opportunity to assess the situation and decide how you want to proceed. In addition to creating space between feeling and reaction, reframing your perspective is another powerful tool for emotional control. Often, our emotional responses are influenced by how we interpret a situation. For example, if a colleague criticizes your work, you might feel defensive or angry. But by reframing the situation, reminding yourself that the feedback is meant to help you grow, not attack your abilities, you can transform your emotional response. Instead of reacting with frustration or resentment, you can approach the situation with curiosity and a willingness to improve. Reframing allows you to shift from a reactive mindset to a proactive one, enabling you to take control of your emotions and your response. Another aspect of emotional control is developing healthy outlets for processing your emotions. Bottling up your feelings can lead to stress, anxiety, and emotional burnout. It's important to have ways of expressing and releasing emotions in a healthy way. For some people, physical activity, like running, yoga, or dancing, is a great way to release pent-up emotions. For others, journaling, talking to a trusted friend, or engaging in creative activities like painting or writing can help process difficult emotions. Finding an outlet that works for you is essential for emotional regulation. When you allow yourself to express your emotions in a healthy way, you prevent them from building up and overwhelming you. Mindfulness is another key tool for emotional control. Mindfulness involves staying present in the moment, without judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you become more aware of your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. You learn to observe your emotions without becoming attached to them or letting them dictate your behavior. Mindfulness techniques, like meditation, deep breathing, or focusing on the present moment, help you maintain emotional balance. When you practice mindfulness regularly, you train your mind to respond to stress and challenging emotions with greater composure and clarity. Mindfulness allows you to create a sense of calm and focus, even in the midst of chaos. In addition to mindfulness, self-compassion is an important aspect of emotional control. When we face difficult emotions, it's easy to be hard on ourselves. We might criticize ourselves for feeling angry, anxious, or upset, believing that these emotions make us weak or inadequate. However, self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness and understanding when you experience negative emotions. Instead of judging yourself, offer yourself the same empathy and support that you would offer a close friend. Acknowledge that it's normal to experience difficult emotions and that they don't define your worth. When you practice self-compassion, you strengthen your emotional resilience and build a healthier relationship with your feelings. At times, you may encounter emotional triggers, specific situations, people, or events that provoke strong emotional reactions. These triggers are often linked to past experiences, unresolved conflicts, or deeply held beliefs. Identifying your emotional triggers is crucial for emotional control. When you recognize what sets off intense emotions, you can anticipate and prepare for these situations, allowing you to respond more effectively. For example, if you know that a certain topic of conversation with a colleague tends to make you defensive. You can practice strategies to stay calm and composed during those interactions. Being aware of your triggers gives you the power to navigate emotional situations with greater ease. Another essential aspect of emotional control is empathy. Empathy allows you to understand and relate to the emotions of others, which can help you navigate conflicts and relationships more effectively. When you're able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and see things from their perspective, you can respond with greater compassion and patience. Empathy not only strengthens your relationships but also helps you manage your own emotions. For example, if a friend is upset, recognizing that their frustration may stem from personal stress, rather than something you've done, allows you to respond in a way that diffuses tension. Practicing empathy helps you maintain emotional control in difficult situations, fostering mutual respect and understanding. As you continue to build your emotional control, remember that this is a lifelong practice. You will never be completely immune to negative emotions or stress, but the more you practice emotional awareness, mindfulness, and self-compassion, the easier it will become to navigate difficult emotions. Each time you face a challenging emotion and respond with control and clarity, you strengthen your ability to manage your feelings in the future. Emotional control is not about avoiding or suppressing emotions. It's about learning to manage them effectively. When you master emotional control, you gain the ability to stay calm and focused under pressure, to make decisions that align with your values, and to handle life's challenges with grace and resilience. The ability to control your emotions is a powerful tool that allows you to unlock your full potential and create the life you desire. As you move forward on your journey to mental strength, remember that emotional control is an ongoing process. Be patient with yourself, practice regularly, and continue to build your emotional resilience. By mastering your emotions, you create the foundation for a confident, empowered, and unstoppable mindset. The next step in your journey is to develop the discipline and habits that will allow you to stay focused and achieve your goals, even when challenges arise. Self-discipline is the cornerstone of achievement. Without it, even the most talented individuals can fall short of their potential. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of setting big goals and dreaming about success. But those dreams won't materialize without consistent action, and consistent action requires discipline. It's not about being rigid or depriving yourself of joy, but about aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision and staying committed to what truly matters. In this section, we'll explore how to develop and strengthen your self-discipline so that you can build the life you've always envisioned. Self-discipline starts with clarity. Without a clear understanding of what you want to achieve, it's difficult to stay focused and committed. Take the time to define your goals. What do you truly want to accomplish? What is the bigger vision behind your goals? It's essential to go beyond surface-level desires and get to the heart of why you want to achieve something. Your why will fuel your discipline, especially during moments of discomfort or doubt. For example, if your goal is to get fit, the surface-level reason might be to look better or feel more energized. But what is the deeper reason? Maybe you want to feel more confident, improve your overall health, or set a positive example for your family. Understanding your deeper motivations provides a sense of purpose and makes it easier to stay disciplined when obstacles arise. Once you've defined your goals, break them down into specific, actionable steps. Large goals can often feel overwhelming And when we don't know where to start, it's easy to procrastinate. Breaking down your goals into smaller, manageable tasks allows you to focus on one thing at a time, making the process feel less daunting. Each step you take brings you closer to your larger goal, and each small win builds momentum. For instance, if your goal is to write a book, it can seem like an enormous task. But if you break it down into smaller steps, such as writing 500 words a day or completing one chapter per week, it becomes more achievable. By focusing on the next small step, you avoid feeling overwhelmed and make steady progress toward your ultimate goal. Procrastination is one of the biggest enemies of self-discipline. It's easy to put things off, especially when the task at hand feels difficult or uncomfortable. However, procrastination often stems from fear of failure, fear of discomfort, or fear of the unknown. To combat procrastination, it's important to start with small actions. Instead of trying to tackle an entire project at once, commit to working on it for just 10 or 15 minutes. Often, the hardest part is getting started. And once you begin, momentum will carry you forward. This technique is called the 2-minute rule. Commit to doing something for just 2 minutes. More often than not, you'll find that once you get started, you'll continue for much longer. Creating an environment that supports your goals is another powerful strategy for enhancing self-discipline. Your surroundings play a significant role in shaping your behavior. If you're trying to stay focused on your work, but your workspace is cluttered or filled with distractions, it will be much harder to stay disciplined. Set up an environment that encourages productivity. This might mean cleaning your desk, minimizing distractions, or turning off your phone during work hours. The simpler and more organized your environment, the easier it will be to stay on task and resist the temptation to procrastinate. Another important aspect of self-discipline is habit formation. Building good habits is one of the most effective ways to stay disciplined. Habits automate positive behaviors, reducing the mental effort required to stay on track. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Begin with one habit at a time and focus on consistency. If you want to establish a habit of reading every day, start by reading just 10 minutes a day. As you get used to this routine, gradually increase the amount of time you spend reading. The key is to remain consistent, not intense, over time. This habit will become ingrained, and it will require less effort to maintain. Tracking your progress is another great way to reinforce self-discipline. When you can see how far you've come, it boosts your motivation and helps you stay on track. Use a journal, an app, or a calendar to track your progress. This could be tracking your workouts, your daily writing goals, or even your eating habits. By making your progress visible, you create a sense of accomplishment and reinforce your commitment to your goals. Accountability is also essential for building self-discipline. Share your goals with someone you trust, whether it's a friend, mentor, or accountability partner. Regular check-ins with someone who supports your progress can provide motivation and reinforce your commitment. Knowing that someone else is holding you accountable can help you stay on track, even when your motivation starts to wane. Alternatively, you can hold yourself accountable by tracking your progress and celebrating small milestones along the way. One of the most important principles of self-discipline is the ability to say no to distractions and temptations. In today's world, it's easy to get sidetracked by social media, TV, or other distractions that don't align with your goals. In order to stay disciplined, you must protect your time and energy. Set clear boundaries for yourself. whether it's limiting screen time, saying no to unnecessary social commitments, or establishing specific times for focused work. By saying no to distractions, you say yes to your goals and your future success. Equally important is developing a growth mindset when it comes to discipline. There will be times when you slip up, when you miss a workout, or skip a day of writing. This is normal and part of the process. What matters is how you respond. Rather than beating yourself up over mistakes or failures, approach them with curiosity and self-compassion. Use setbacks as learning opportunities. Reflect on what went wrong. Adjust your approach, and continue moving forward. A growth mindset allows you to embrace discipline as a journey, not a destination. Every day is a new chance to improve, to recommit to your goals, and to keep moving forward. Another essential aspect of self-discipline is rewarding yourself for milestones. Discipline doesn't mean living a life of deprivation. It's about balance. As you achieve your smaller goals, take time to celebrate your progress. Whether it's treating yourself to something special, taking a break, or simply acknowledging how far you've come. These rewards help you stay motivated and reinforce the positive behaviors you've developed. Remember, self-discipline is about building a life you enjoy, not one that feels restrictive or punishing. Finally, remember that self-discipline is a skill that requires practice and patience. You won't become perfectly disciplined overnight, but with time and consistency, you'll build the habits, mindset, and routines that support your goals. It's about making small, intentional choices each day that align with your larger vision. As you develop your self-discipline, you'll discover that you can achieve far more than you ever thought possible, and you'll create the life you've always dreamed of. In the next section, we'll explore how to cultivate mental resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and stay strong in the face of challenges. Because building mental strength isn't just about being disciplined, it's about learning how to grow stronger through adversity. Mental resilience is your ability to withstand adversity, recover from setbacks, and emerge stronger from life's challenges. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. But mental resilience allows you to navigate through these obstacles with strength and clarity, rather than being consumed by them. It's not about avoiding difficulties. It's about developing the inner fortitude to face them head-on, learn from them, and ultimately grow because of them. At its core, mental resilience is about perspective. How you view challenges can have a profound impact on how you respond to them. When faced with adversity, resilient individuals don't see themselves as victims of circumstance. Instead, they view challenges as opportunities for growth. This mindset shift allows them to stay focused, keep moving forward, and take proactive steps even when the road ahead seems daunting. Developing resilience starts with learning how to embrace challenges rather than avoid them. Too often, we view difficulty as something to fear, something to push away. But the truth is, challenges are an inevitable part of life, and they offer us valuable lessons. Every hardship is an opportunity to develop new skills, gain insights, and test your limits. The next time you face a challenge, rather than dreading it, try to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger? Resilience is built through self-awareness. It requires you to understand your emotional responses, your triggers, and your patterns of behavior. This understanding allows you to recognize when you're feeling overwhelmed or discouraged, and gives you the tools to manage those emotions effectively. For example, when you're faced with a stressful situation, Taking a moment to pause and identify what you're feeling, whether it's fear, frustration, or uncertainty, gives you the clarity to choose how to respond. Self-awareness also means recognizing your strengths and weaknesses. When you're aware of your strengths, you can draw on them in times of difficulty. If you know that you're resilient, resourceful, or capable of handling stress, you can use these qualities as a foundation to face whatever challenges come your way. At the same time, understanding your weaknesses allows you to take proactive steps to mitigate their impact. For example, if you tend to become overwhelmed in high-pressure situations, recognizing this early on gives you the chance to develop strategies, such as mindfulness or deep breathing exercises, to stay grounded. Another critical aspect of resilience is self-care. You can't build mental resilience if you're physically, mentally, or emotionally depleted. Taking care of your body and mind is essential for maintaining the energy and clarity needed to face challenges. Self-care isn't just about indulgence. It's about maintaining your well-being so that you can show up fully for the challenges ahead. This means prioritizing adequate sleep, eating nourishing foods, exercising regularly, and making time for relaxation and fun. When you feel balanced and energized, you'll be better equipped to handle life's ups and downs. Mindfulness practices are also incredibly effective for building resilience. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When you're mindful, you can experience your emotions without letting them control you. For example, if you're feeling stressed, practicing mindfulness allows you to acknowledge the stress without letting it overwhelm you. You can simply observe your feelings, then choose how to respond in a way that aligns with your goals and values. Over time, mindfulness strengthens your ability to stay calm and composed, even in difficult situations. Equally important is the ability to reframe negative experiences. Resilient people don't ignore or deny pain, but they do choose to see it through a different lens. Instead of viewing a failure as a reflection of their inadequacy, they view it as feedback, an opportunity to improve and grow. This shift in perspective is vital for mental resilience. When you reframe negative experiences as opportunities for growth, you can navigate them with greater ease and purpose. For instance, if you face a setback in your career, instead of seeing it as a failure, see it as an opportunity to refine your skills or explore a different path. Every challenge has a lesson embedded in it, and it's up to you to find it. Developing resilience also requires flexibility. Life rarely goes according to plan, and the ability to adapt is a hallmark of resilient people. Being rigid or attached to a specific outcome can lead to frustration and disappointment when things don't go as expected. On the other hand, when you remain open to new possibilities and adjust your approach as needed, you keep moving forward, even in the face of uncertainty. Flexibility doesn't mean abandoning your goals. It means being willing to pivot when circumstances change. It means being willing to adjust your course when life throws you a curveball, while still staying focused on your ultimate destination. Building resilience also involves developing problem-solving skills. Resilient people are not paralyzed by problems. They approach them with a mindset of curiosity and resourcefulness. When faced with a challenge, they break it down into smaller, manageable parts and focus on what they can control. This proactive approach gives them a sense of agency and confidence, allowing them to move forward, even when the situation feels overwhelming. To cultivate this skill, try practicing with smaller challenges in your life. The more you tackle problems with a calm, strategic approach, the better equipped you'll be to handle larger challenges in the future. Another important strategy for building resilience is cultivating gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right, which can drastically improve your mental resilience. When you practice gratitude, you start to notice the positives in your life, even during difficult times. For example, if you're going through a tough period, take a moment each day to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be big things. Sometimes, the smallest moments of joy or comfort can make the biggest difference. Gratitude shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance, reminding you that even in the toughest times, you have something to be thankful for. Mental resilience is also nurtured by meaningful relationships. When you face challenges, it's important to have a support system of people who can provide encouragement, advice, and perspective. Resilient people don't go through life's struggles alone. They seek out people who uplift and challenge them to grow. Surround yourself with individuals who inspire you, who believe in your potential, and who offer a safe space for you to express your thoughts and feelings. At the same time, it's important to reciprocate this support. Offering kindness, empathy, and encouragement to others strengthens your own resilience and creates a sense of community. Finally, building resilience requires patience. It's a gradual process. It's not something that happens overnight. You'll face setbacks along the way, but with each challenge, you'll grow stronger. Don't expect perfection, and don't be discouraged by obstacles. The key to resilience is to keep going, even when things are difficult. Embrace the process, and trust that each step, no matter how small, is a step toward becoming mentally stronger. In the next section, we'll explore how failure, rather than being something to fear, is an integral part of building resilience and mental strength. Failure is not a dead end, it's a lesson. And how you handle failure can determine how far you'll go on your journey to success. You fall, you learn, you rise, and you move with more precision than before. That is how you turn failure into fuel. It isn't a slogan, it's a practice, a way you meet reality, harvest information from it, and re-enter the arena sharper than you were an hour ago. You stop letting outcomes define your identity, and you start letting them refine your strategy. You treat every miss as data, every detour as a map, every no as a nudge toward a better approach. You become the person who says, "I adjust," instead of, "I'm done." You begin by uncoupling results from worth. When an effort doesn't land, your brain wants to tell a sweeping story. "I am not enough." You interrupt that script. You say, "This result says something about my plan, my timing, my skill stack today, not about my value." The moment you remove shame from the equation, curiosity steps in. Curiosity asks better questions. What did I assume that wasn't true? Which step produced the wobble? Where did the friction spike? You notice that blame produces paralysis, while questions produce movement. You create a simple debrief ritual, fast, compassionate, and repeatable. Right after a stumble, you run 3 passes: feelings, facts, fixes. First, feelings. Name the emotion, so it stops hijacking your thinking. Disappointment, frustration, embarrassment. You breathe through it. You let it move. Second, facts. What actually happened, in observable terms. No drama. Third, fixes. One small adjustment you will test next time. Feelings release pressure. Facts restore clarity. Fixes restore agency. You keep this ritual short, 10 minutes, written if possible. so it becomes your default, not a someday exercise. You design your work like a laboratory. Big ambitions break into small, testable steps. You swap all or nothing for learn or learn more. You run micro-experiments with tight feedback loops. Try a new script on 5 calls. Publish a short version before the long one. Demo to 3 users before you code the full feature. You want rapid signal, not perfect polish. The faster the loop, the less any single outcome can discourage you. A miss on a microtest stings less and teaches more. That is how you compound skill without compounding shame. You also shrink the surface area of catastrophe. Instead of one giant leap that terrifies you into delay, you build a staircase of deliberate attempts. You adjust the size of the risk to match your current tolerance. Then push that tolerance one notch at a time. You might ask for feedback from a friendly audience before a full launch, or apply for one stretch opportunity instead of 10 at once. Calibrated risk keeps you moving. Movement keeps you learning. Learning keeps you steady. You practice the 24-hour rule. When an outcome lands poorly, a rejected pitch, a quiet room after you speak, a message left on read, you give yourself up to one day to feel it fully. Cry, walk, journal, sweat. Talk to someone who can hold your story. Then, at the end of those 24 hours, you put your hands back on the wheel. You translate the event into a tweak. Maybe you change the opener, adjust the timing, swap the audience, tighten the example, rehearse the close. You show your nervous system that you can be both tender with yourself and fierce about your next step. You learn to spot cognitive distortions that sprint in after a loss. Catastrophizing says, "This ruins everything." Overgeneralization says, "It never works." Mind reading says, "They hated it." You answer each distortion with a counter question. What is the smallest true statement I can make about what happened? What evidence would I accept that contradicts the story I'm telling? What else could be true? These questions are bridges from emotion to execution. You cross them. Often, you keep a learning ledger. On the left side, attempts. On the right side, insights and adjustments. No trophies required, only truth. The ledger changes your relationship with trying. It turns attempts into assets you can reference. When your energy dips, you scan the ledger and see proof that you are not stuck. You are iterating. You also maintain a failure resume, a simple list of efforts that didn't land and what each one taught you. It sounds harsh, but it's strangely freeing. It tells your brain that misses don't need to be hidden to lose power. Exposed to light, they become lessons. You use preview and review. Before you act, you run a quick pre-mortem. If this fails, what are the most likely causes? You address those causes now. Tighten the brief. Rehearse the transitions. Confirm the assumptions. After you act, you run a post-mortem. Where did friction occur? What surprised me? Which fixes do I schedule? You don't leave learning to chance. You make learning a system. Systems build confidence that doesn't depend on a single win. You also upgrade your environment. You create low-stakes arenas to practice high-stakes skills, mock interviews, lightning talks with friends, rehearsal rooms, safe drafts. You treat practice with the respect you used to reserve for performance. Repetition builds neural pathways. Deliberate repetition turns those pathways into highways. When the real moment arrives, you travel routes your brain already knows. Pressure drops, presence rises, execution sharpens. You develop a compassionate inner voice that is still exacting. You tell yourself the truth. This part was weak. That section dragged. This ask was unclear. Without attacking your worth. Precision without poison. You become your own best coach. Direct, specific, forward-leaning. You replace. That was terrible. With. Trim that paragraph. Lead with the story. Ask the question sooner. Pause after the key line. Critique becomes choreography. You can dance with it. You learn the pivot test. Persistence is powerful, but so is the courage to change direction. When confronted with repeated misses, you ask, is the goal still alive in me? Is the method failing? Or is the aim misaligned with my values, timing, or season? If the goal still pulses, you keep it and change the method. New channel, different cadence, fresh collaboration, upgraded skill. If the goal feels hollow, you thank it for what it taught you and release it. Quitting a misfit is not failure. It's fidelity to your truest work. You normalize rejection. You build exposure on purpose. Collect small no's to reduce their sting. Ask for feedback that's likely to include pushback. Request opportunities just beyond your current range. You become fluent in the language of not yet. Every no contains coordinates. Wrong offer, wrong moment, wrong room. You learn to decode those coordinates and try the right offer, at the right moment, in the right room. You stop interpreting silence as verdict and start treating it as a prompt for a cleaner signal. You practice emotional alchemy, turning the heat of disappointment into the energy of focus. After a miss, your body carries a surplus of activation. You move it through. A workout, a brisk walk, breath work, a cold rinse, a timed writing sprint. You don't let the energy curdle into rumination. You metabolize it into motion. The faster you transmute, the sooner you regain momentum. You build a tiny brave habit, one bold micro-act each day that courts the possibility of a miss. Send a message, ask a question, share a paragraph, post a reel, make a call, propose an idea. Tiny braves compound. They keep your courage muscles warm. They also keep your relationship with risk current. So larger moves feel like scaled versions of what you already do, not brand new cliffs. You tune your expectations to the right horizon. Most valuable work follows an S-curve. Slow. Obscure learning at the start. Visible lift later. You stop judging the whole curve by the flat beginning. You measure progress by fidelity, to process metrics you control. Reps completed, scripts tested, pages drafted, demos scheduled. Outcomes still matter, but they stop being your only scoreboard. Ironically, this shift accelerates outcomes because you spend more time on inputs that produce them. You cultivate feedback fluency. You set the frame when you ask for it. I'm testing clarity and pacing. Please ignore design for now. You ask for specifics. Where did your attention dip? You protect your nervous system, one or two trusted voices at a time. You never let feedback sit in vagueness. You translate it into edits, experiments, and next steps. Feedback becomes a friend because you taught it how to treat you. You script your self-talk at the moment of impact. Right after a stumble, your brain looks for a line. You give it one. I'm safe. I'm learning. I adjust. Or, useful signal. One tweak. Back in. You write these lines on a card or phone note and use them. The goal is not to deny pain. The goal is to direct attention toward agency. Agency is the antidote to despair. You capture and celebrate attempts publicly with yourself. A visible attempt calendar on your wall, one mark for every try, turns effort into art. Empty squares nudge you to show up. Filled squares remind you that you do show up. If a day goes sideways, you ask, what is the smallest attempt I can still make before midnight? You keep your streak with a 5-minute rep. You honor continuity over intensity. Continuity wins. You refine your timing. Sometimes failure says nothing about your idea and everything about the window you chose. You learn seasonal rhythms, when your audience listens, when energy is high, when gatekeepers decide. You place your bets accordingly. A great message at the wrong hour can look like a bad message. You stop taking that personally. You take it strategically. You resist the urge to overcorrect. After a miss, the impulse is to swing wildly, to abandon your voice, mimic someone else, burn the whole plan. Instead, you make one change at a time, isolate variables, and observe. If you change 5 things and something works, you don't know which thing worked. Precision matters. Small hinges swing big doors. You cultivate long memory and short memory at once. Long memory for lessons, patterns of what tends to work for you, what drains you, what lights your audience. Short memory for shame, refusing to replay the sting once the lesson is harvested. You close the tab. You choose your attention like you choose your food, on purpose, with care, for energy, not for drama. You train for resilience by pre-forgiving yourself. Before you attempt, you say, whatever happens, I'll treat myself kindly and keep going. That promise reduces the fear tax on your nervous system. It frees more of your capacity for the task itself. Fear shrinks, presence expands, the work benefits. You also keep humor close. You let yourself laugh at the awkward moments, the flubbed lines, the tech mishaps, the shoes squeaking on the quiet stage. Humor loosens the grip of perfection. Where perfection chokes, humor breathes. And when you breathe, you perform. You remember that excellence lives on the other side of many imperfect repetitions. The first version is a sketch, the second has bones, the third begins to hum. By the 10th, people call it talent. You know it by its real name, practice. And practice requires a friendly relationship with failure. Not indulgent, not cruel, friendly, truthful, generous, forward. So you keep walking into the wind. You try, record, reflect, revise, and try again. You teach your body that a stumble is not a stop. It's a step that looks funny. You trust that your future self will thank you for refusing to let a single outcome define your story. You gather the fragments of each attempt and build something sturdier than before. You are not pretending this is easy. You are proving you can do hard things with a soft heart and a steady hand. You fall. You learn. You rise. And when you rise this time, you carry wisdom you couldn't have earned any other way. Focus is how you convert potential into progress. You've gathered lessons. You've built resilience. You've learned to treat missteps as maps. Now you direct that wisdom like a beam. Scattered light warms. Concentrated light cuts steel. When you harness attention, you shorten the distance between intention and outcome. You stop living at the mercy of pings, tabs, and the next tiny thrill. You start living by design. One clear aim, one deliberate act, repeated until it compounds. You feel the relief that arrives when your mind has a single job, and you give it that job. You begin by choosing your one meaningful target for the next block of time. Not 10, not 3, 1. Ask, if I do only this, will the day still matter? That is your needle mover. You name it in a verb-noun form. Ship draft, refine pitch, analyze dataset, practice slides, because verbs create motion. Then you define done. What visible evidence will prove completion? A page count, a working prototype, a scheduled call, a recorded run-through. Ambiguity breeds drift. Clarity breeds speed. Before you start, you perform a pre-focus ritual that teaches your nervous system. Now we work. It can be 90 seconds. Water nearby, phone out of reach, one tab, one document, one timer. You clear your desk surface, square your shoulders. Take 3 slow breaths in and out. Long exhale to signal calm. You read your intention aloud. Once. Rituals aren't cute. They are cues. Repeated cues become grooves. Grooves reduce the friction of starting, which is the heaviest friction of all. You protect attention with environmental design. Expecting focus in a cluttered, noisy, notification-soaked space is like expecting sprint times in ankle-deep mud. You remove mud. Silence non-essential alerts. Move talkative apps off your home screen. Keep only the tools of the task within reach. If you work in a shared space, headphones become a portable wall. If home tempts you to tidy instead of create, relocate to a cafe or library. You don't negotiate with distraction. You root around it. The goal isn't heroic willpower. The goal is friction in the right places. Hard to get to time wasters. Easy to reach deep work tools. You adopt monotasking as your default. You stop splitting your brain between email, chat, doc, and dashboard. Context switching isn't free. It taxes your working memory and scrambles momentum. So you close stray tabs like you're bailing water from a boat. When a new thought pops up, buy batteries. Reply to Sam. Idea for later. You don't chase it. You park it in a capture list and return to the lane. You teach your brain that ideas are safe, even if not acted on immediately. Safety reduces the panic that drives compulsive checking. You work in focused sprints, time-boxed intervals that honor the brain's rhythm. 25, 45, or 50 minutes on, then 5 to 10 off. Choose a length that you can keep without hating it. During the sprint, you commit to 3 rules. Stay in the window, touch only the task, and finish the interval even if the work feels clumsy. The aim is not flawless output. The aim is continuous engagement. Between sprints, you stand, breathe, sip, stretch, look far away to rest your eyes. Mini breaks rinse cognitive residue, so the next block can be truly fresh. You align focus with energy timing, not just clock time. Notice your natural peaks and troughs. If your mind is sharp in the morning, reserve that terrain for creative or analytical work that benefits most from depth. Push shallow tasks, email triage, forms, routine admin into your lower energy slots. Protect at least 1 sacred hour daily, a defended island where only your highest value work is allowed. Guard it the way a musician guards rehearsal or an athlete guards training. People learn how to treat your time by watching how you treat it. You refine information hygiene. Inputs shape outputs. If you flood your brain at dawn with a feed engineered to fragment attention, don't be surprised when focus feels foreign. Start your day with something that steadies you. Journal a few lines. Read a page of signal-rich material. Plan your top 3. Step outside and catch the sky. During work, minimize parallel consumption. If you need reference material, save it locally, not as an open sea of unrelated links. You are curating a museum of attention, not running a carnival. You craft implementation intentions, if-then scripts that pre-decide your response to common derailers. If I reach for my phone during a sprint, then I put it face down and take 1 breath. If I get stuck for more than 2 minutes, then I write the next ugly sentence or sketch, the next ugly shape. If someone interrupts, Then I ask for 5 minutes to finish the current thought and note the spot I'll resume. Scripts remove micro-dilemmas, fewer choices, more progress. You install focus anchors inside the work itself. Start with an interest hook. What, specifically, feels curious about this task? Curiosity is fuel. Build visible markers of progress, checkboxes inside the document, a progress bar you shade by hand, a tiny tally of completed sprints. The brain loves closure. Show it closure. When the work is intangible, create tangible artifacts, whiteboard scribbles, sticky notes, voice memos. Objects make effort real. You manage attention debt the way you'd manage financial debt. Every time you leave a task mid-thought, without a re-entry cue, you accrue interest in the form of ramp-up time later. So you end each block by writing the next sentence you will type, the next calculation you will run, the next question you will answer. You leave breadcrumbs, clear, actionable, short. Tomorrow's you should feel invited, not intimidated. This tiny habit can save entire mornings. You negotiate boundaries with others in language that is kind and firm. I'm in a focus block until 11. If it's urgent, text red, and I'll step out. You propose office hours for quick questions. You group meetings into fewer days, so deep work has contiguous lanes. You enter meetings with purpose and exit with decisions. You decline those where your presence is optional and the agenda is vapor. Every yes is borrowed from something meaningful. You learn to lend wisely. You build a distraction recovery protocol because drift will happen. When you catch yourself miles from the task, in a browser rabbit hole, a kitchen rearrange, a hypothetical argument, you don't scold, you name drift. You note the trigger if obvious, boredom at line 3, discomfort near a hard choice, and you return to the line, the choice, the breath. You don't make a morality play out of a human moment. You shorten the time from drift to return. That's mastery. You right-size tasks that feel too big to hold. Overwhelm is often a formatting problem. You chunk the assignment into atoms, the smallest actions visible to the naked eye. Open slide deck, duplicate last week's structure, replace title, drop in 3 images, write 1 headline per slide. Atoms have low activation energy. You can start them even when confidence is low. Once moving, momentum lends you its hand. You strengthen focus by training tolerance for boredom. The work that matters will include stretches that are not thrilling, cleanup, refinement, repetitive practice. You stop treating boredom as an alarm to escape. You treat it as a signal you are crossing into the land where fewer people persist. While others chase novelty, you are laying bricks. Brick by brick builds cathedrals. You use constraints as allies. Instead of write a great chapter, you set. Write 400 words describing only the scene, no commentary. Instead of brainstorm ideas, you set. List 5 bad ideas in 5 minutes. Constraints focus attention, invite play, and quiet the perfectionist that wants the entire world before it can begin. Less canvas, more paint. You practice closing loops. Loose ends leak attention. Half decisions, open queries, vague commitments. You adopt a weekly review that collects everything into one place, clarifies what is active, defers or deletes what isn't, and schedules what matters. You emerge with a short, honest list. You stop carrying your work in your head. Headspace becomes workspace. You design digital guardrails, separate browsers or profiles for deep work and shallow tasks, blocker apps during sacred hours, email in scheduled windows rather than perpetually. If you must check, do it to completion. Empty the inbox to a few clear lists. Act, calendar, archive. Half checking multiplies anxiety. Disciplined checking reduces it. You aim to replace the constant, "Where was I?" with "Here I am." You remember that focus follows emotion. When resistance spikes, ask, "What am I trying not to feel?" Often it's the sting of possible inadequacy, the fear of judgment, the discomfort of choosing. You turn toward the feeling, name it, breathe through it, and act anyway. Courage isn't the absence of sensation, it's the willingness to move with sensation present. Action reshapes emotion more reliably than rumination does. You embed movement into your focus life, a short walk before a deep block, a stretch sequence between sprints, hydration within reach. Your brain is body, irrigate it. Physical cues refresh mental stamina and prevent the slow slide into sloppy attention. When energy dips, you don't negotiate with the chair. You stand, you shake out your hands, you reset. You craft a shutdown ritual so focus can rest and return tomorrow. You tick off what's done, schedule the next actions, tidy the workspace, write a one-line instruction to your future self, and close the day with gratitude, a sentence for what moved, what surprised, what you'll try next. You declare, "Work is parked." This boundary protects evenings for recovery and relationships, which in turn feed tomorrow's attention. You treat focus as a relationship, not an on-off switch. Relationships deepen with reliability, small promises kept, patience during rough days, repair after misses. Some days you'll create with fire, others you'll carry embers across. You show up either way. You trust the math of consistency. Modest daily depth outperforms sporadic marathons. You are building a life where your attention belongs to what matters most, not to whatever shouts loudest. You notice how quiet confidence grows when you keep these agreements. You wake knowing the first hour has a purpose. You begin without bargaining. You end without regret. The world still buzzes, but you buzz less with it. You become the kind of person whose presence is felt. Calm, clear, deliberate, and the work responds. It begins to cohere. It begins to accumulate. It begins to look like the future you've been pointing at, finally taking shape under the steady light you chose to hold. Focus steadies your beam. Kindness keeps it burning. You can be disciplined, resilient, and relentlessly focused, and still stall if the voice inside your head shreds your effort the moment you wobble. Self-compassion is not a luxury, it's fuel. It is the practice of treating yourself with fairness, warmth, and honest clarity when things get messy, especially when things get messy. You stop confusing cruelty with rigor. You learn to be on your own side, firm about standards, generous about humanity, so you can pursue big aims without breaking yourself. You start by noticing the tone you use with yourself. When a plan slips, when a sentence falls flat, when you forget a promise, what do you say? Many days. Your first reflex is a jab. How could you? That jab spikes cortisol, narrows attention, and makes future action harder. You replace it with a simple, stabilizing sequence. Name, normalize, nurture. You name what happened. I missed the deadline. You normalize the experience. People miss deadlines. It's human. You nurture the next move. One concrete step now. The moment you switch from accusation to action, you feel your shoulders drop and your options widen. You define compassion as accurate care. It isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's getting yourself back on the path. Accurate care sounds like, yes, that choice had consequences. Yes, you can repair. Here is how. It balances accountability with warmth. Without accountability, compassion drifts into avoidance. Without warmth, accountability collapses into punishment. You carry both, like two handles on the same bucket. You cultivate 3 anchors. First, mindful awareness, seeing what you feel without fusing with it. This is regret, hot in the chest, a tight jaw. Second, common humanity, remembering you're part of a wider story. Others have stood at this edge. I'm not uniquely broken. Third, kind intention, speaking to yourself the way a wise ally would. Let's breathe. Let's repair. Let's try again. These anchors turn storms into weather, still intense, but passing. You write a compassionate script for heavy moments. Keep it short. Keep it real. I'm safe. I'm learning. I'm allowed to make imperfect attempts. I choose the next right action. You place this script on your phone, your desk, your mirror. When your pulse jumps, you read it aloud. The body hears tone more than logic. Your voice becomes a doorway back to steadiness. You practice the double standard test. If a friend made your exact mistake, what would you say? Would you call them names? Or would you help them fix the leak and keep going? You borrow that language for yourself. The mind relaxes when it recognizes fairness. Fairness invites effort. You learn repair as a reflex. Compassion does not stop at comfort. It continues into action. If you missed a deliverable, you acknowledge it, offer a new timeline, and add one protective step to prevent a repeat. If you snapped at someone, you own the behavior without self-flagellation, apologize cleanly, and ask how to make it right. Repair closes loops. Shame can't close. With every repair, trust grows, both theirs in you and yours in yourself. You identify your inner cast, the voices that show up under stress. There's a worrier who predicts disaster, a perfectionist who delays until flawless, a judge who keeps a ledger of every slip. You don't banish them. You seat a coach at the head of the table. The coach listens, extracts the useful signal, and sets the next drill. Perfectionist, thank you for caring about quality. Give me 2 concrete improvements. Worrier, list the top 2 risks and 1 mitigation each. Judge, you can rest. We're moving forward. You turn a noisy committee into a capable team. You practice somatic kindness, caring for the body so the mind can cooperate. When tension climbs, you unclench your jaw, lower your shoulders, breathe longer on the exhale than the inhale. You drink water. You stand and walk for 2 minutes. You let your eyes find a horizon. These aren't trivial comforts. They downshift your nervous system so you can choose rather than react. A calm body makes compassion audible. You set compassionate boundaries. Being kind to yourself includes protecting your time, energy, and attention. You say, I'm unavailable then, without justifying your existence. You design white space blocks in your week that aren't emergency overflow but planned recovery. You recognize that rest is not a prize for perfection. It is a prerequisite for excellence. You stop treating exhaustion as a badge and start treating it as a signal. You reframe self-forgiveness as an operational necessity. Guilt, I did something misaligned, can guide repair. Shame, I am wrongness, freezes it. You move from identity judgments to behavior assessments. You ask, what value did I violate? What cue did I miss? What structure would support me next time? You build that structure. Earlier alarms, clearer checklists, peer review, staged deadlines. Forgiveness becomes architecture. You write a letter from your future self, 6 months ahead, wiser, because you kept going. I remember the week you wanted to quit. You didn't. You took one small step and then another. Here's what that led to. You read this letter when you forget why the middle feels so murky. The future you speaks with, evidence the present you can borrow. You develop tender toughness, soft heart, strong spine. Tenderness lets you feel. Toughness keeps you moving. You stop oscillating between coddling and cracking the whip. You say, I'm with you. And we keep the promise we made. Promise keeping builds identity. Identity drives action without constant negotiation. You create rituals of reassurance around hard tasks. Before you enter a stretch conversation, you rest a hand on your chest and one on your belly and breathe for 5 counts. You visualize the first sentence you'll speak. You picture a compassionate outcome, even if it's simply mutual clarity. You remind yourself, I can be kind and clear at the same time. You step in. Rituals shrink dread. You replace all or nothing with all or something. On the days a full workout won't happen, you walk 10 minutes. When the perfect draft won't appear, you write one messy paragraph. Something keeps you in relationship with your goal. Nothing ends the conversation. Compassion chooses continuity over theatrics. You build micro-gratitudes into the day as proof that care is present. You notice warm water on your hands, the weight of a mug, sunlight on your floor, a sentence that finally sings. You don't perform gratitude, you practice noticing. Noticing widens attention from the single problem to the larger field where many things are not broken. Relief enters. From relief, effort feels possible. You address perfectionism at the root, fear of loss, of approval, safety, belonging. You name what you fear losing. You ask, what minimum standard protects what I value without grinding me down? You set that standard and ship at it. Then you review and upgrade. Perfectionism wants a verdict before the trial. Compassion invites iteration. You treat comparison as a cue to connect rather than shrink. When you see someone further along, instead of bruising yourself with their highlight reel, you extract a pattern, cadence, clarity, courage. You let admiration become instruction. You ask a question, learn a trick, practice a rep. Connection metabolizes envy into energy. You craft a self-compassion break you can take anywhere. Step 1. Acknowledge. This is hard. Step 2. Belong. Hard is part of being human. Step 3. Befriend. Place a hand on your arm and say, may I give myself what's needed now? Then you ask what's needed. Water, a boundary, a plan, a walk, a nap, a conversation, a single brave email. You give yourself the smallest effective dose. You sanitize your inner language. Words like always and never make prisons. You switch to often, sometimes, today. You replace should with I choose. I'm experimenting with. I commit to. Choice language returns agency. Agency calms the system. A calm system executes. You create evidence banks for your worth and your wins. One note holds kind words you've received. Another captures small completions from each day. When doubt gets loud, you read 3 lines. The brain forgets on purpose to keep you safe. You remind it on purpose to help you grow. Evidence bends belief. You practice compassionate honesty with yourself about capacity. Some seasons hold more bandwidth than others. Illness, caretaking, new roles. You stop pretending that yesterday's plan fits every month. You resize goals without calling it failure. Right-sized goals increase follow-through. Follow-through rebuilds momentum. You invite play back into practice. The more serious the aim, the more useful a little levity becomes. You set absurd timers. You write a bad sonnet about your spreadsheet. You race yourself to finish 3 tiny tasks before the kettle boils. Laughter loosens the choking grip of pressure. Loose hands perform better. You learn to receive care. Independence is admirable until it isolates. When someone offers help, you practice saying yes. You let friends bring soup. Colleagues share templates. Mentors mark up your draft. Receiving isn't weakness, it's circulation. What reaches you can move through you to others later. You distinguish values from moods. Moods fluctuate. Values anchor. On low-tide days, you act from value, integrity, curiosity, service, rather than waiting for a mood to lift. You ask, what's a 5-minute act that honors this value right now? You take it. That small act often changes the mood anyway. You design compassionate check-ins at day's end. 3 lines. What moved? What mattered? What will help tomorrow me? You close with a simple phrase. I did enough for today. Enoughness is not laziness. It's calibration. Calibrated work sustains. You forgive your timeline myths. You stop punishing yourself for not being further ahead by a date you invented under pressure. You remind yourself, speed varies by season, by skill, by support. You measure by direction and devotion. You keep walking. You keep artifacts of courage where you can see them. A ticket from the talk you gave, despite shaking. A screenshot of an email you sent. A photo from a day you showed up when it was hard. Artifacts anchor identity when memory blurs. You look and remember, I do brave things. And when you forget, because you will, you begin again. Breath. Name. Normalize. Nurture. Repair what needs repair. Thank the day for what it taught. Put your tools where tomorrow can find them. Turn the lights down. Rest like it's part of the job. Because it is. Self-compassion isn't a detour from ambition. It's the road that lets you travel farther without breaking. The more you practice it, the more your focus holds. Your discipline lasts. Your resilience recovers. You feel a gentle steadiness rising under your ribs, a calm certainty that you can keep going. Kindness toward yourself softens the ground. Gratitude lets something beautiful grow there. You've learned to coach your inner voice rather than crush it. Now you turn outward and inward at once, seeing what's already here, catching what's good before it blurs, and letting appreciation become a daily practice that steadies you when life tilts. Gratitude isn't denial. It doesn't pretend pain is pleasant or setbacks are easy. Gratitude is precision. You learn to notice the full picture, challenge and gift, friction and support, and that wider view gives you strength you can actually use. You begin by redefining gratitude as a way of paying attention. Not a forced smile, not a list you scribble to be positive, but a skill. You train your mind to detect value, to name it, and to let it land in the body long enough to matter. That last part is essential. Appreciation that rushes past is like sunlight on a closed window. Pleasant, but it never warms the room. So, you slow down. You let small good things soak. Start small on purpose. Right after you wake, before the scroll, you give yourself 30 quiet seconds. You notice the first gift in reach, the weight of the blanket, the breath that's still here, the promise of a day where your choices count. You whisper, thank you. Not to someone in particular if that doesn't fit your frame, but to life, to the chance, to the simple fact of being here. You observe what happens to your chest, your jaw, your shoulders, a softening. You stack the day on that softness. Throughout the morning, you practice micro-gratitudes, tiny catches of the good in motion, warm mug in your hands, a message that makes you smile, a line of text that finally sings, the sun striping the floor. You don't narrate them to the world, you register them to yourself. 5 seconds of presence each time. That's all. If you carried only this habit forward, your days would tilt towards steady. You add a powerful form, savoring. You extend the life of something good by replaying it once or twice on purpose. You remember the laugh at lunch and let yourself grin again. You rewatch a small success in your mind, how you asked clearly, how you stayed calm, and you feel the competence in your bones. Savoring isn't clinging, it's honoring. You tell your nervous system, moments like this matter, mark them. In the afternoon, you try a second lens, subtraction gratitude, for a beat. You imagine losing something ordinary you rely on, the roof above, the friend on speed dial, the mobility you use without thinking. Then you return to your current reality, with attention sharpened. This is not morbid, it's clarifying. So much of your life is built on quiet supports. Seeing them doesn't erase hardship, it amplifies resourcefulness. You remember you're not starting from zero. When evening comes, you practice the classic 3 good things, but you do it with detail. Instead of family, health, job, you write, the way my kid's hand found mine when we crossed the street. A 20-minute walk where my mind cleared. The paragraph that finally clicked after I moved the example up. Specificity makes memory sticky. Sticky memories become buffers for tomorrow's stress. You keep a gratitude ledger somewhere visible. Not a precious journal you're afraid to ruin. Just a simple notebook, a notes app, a whiteboard by your desk. Each day gets a date and 3 lines. Over time, you can flip back and watch the story of your life widen. Tough weeks that still held glimmers. Heavy seasons that still had a thread of light running through them. On days when motivation dips, you flip pages and borrow strength from your own evidence. Gratitude deepens when it moves beyond the private page into relational appreciation. You practice capitalization. When someone shares a win, you respond in a way that enlarges it. Not cool, not a distracted nice, but engaged. Tell me your favorite part. What felt hardest, and you still did it. You become a multiplier of good. Multipliers build trust, and trust builds teams, and teams carry you through storms a solo mind can't shoulder. You also start writing gratitude notes, short, honest, specific. That email you sent last week, your second paragraph gave me language I needed. Thanks for that clarity. Or, you checked in after the meeting, and it mattered more than you know. You send 1 note a week. It takes 3 minutes. It changes relationships in ways that echo. Some weeks, you deliver one in person, a gratitude visit. You tell an elder, a mentor, a friend what they've deposited into your life. You watch their eyes well up. Yours might too. That shared humanity becomes resilience. You practice gratitude under pressure, which is different from pretending. When a plan breaks, you don't say, everything is fine. You say, this hurts. And also, I'm grateful for the skill I'm building right now, the ability to regroup fast. You don't bypass anger or loss. You braid them with appreciation for any resource that remains. Your capacity to ask for help, your calendar flexibility, your grit. This both and muscularity is the heart of mature gratitude. It doesn't make hard things less hard. It makes you less brittle. You look for benefit finding after setbacks. the unplanned gains tucked inside the mess. A rejected proposal forced you to distill your pitch. A canceled trip gave you an uninterrupted day to finish the chapter. A conflict revealed a boundary you needed to set. You are not saying you're glad the bad happened. You are saying you will not let meaning leak out of it. Meaning is fuel. You also guard against toxic positivity, the counterfeit of gratitude that silences legitimate pain. When someone you love is hurting, you don't slap a look on the bright side on their grief. You sit with them. You say, "I'm here." Later, when the wave has passed, you ask, "Would it help to look for any small good in the middle of this?" Sometimes the answer is no. You respect that. Real gratitude has room for tears. To strengthen your practice, you design cues and containers. A cue on your phone at 1:13 p.m. that simply says, "Catch one good thing." A container, the first sip of your afternoon drink, paired with a quick recall of 3 things from the day so far. You tie gratitude to activities you already do: hand washing, unlocking the front door, lacing your shoes. Habit science is simple. Same cue, same place, same pattern, repeated until it becomes the path of least resistance. You experiment with theme weeks. 1 week you focus on gratitude for your body, what it allows today, even if limited. The legs that walked you to the bus, the lungs that carried you up the stairs, the hands that typed each sentence. Another week you center on people, co-workers who show up, the stranger who held the elevator, the barista who learns your name. Another week, tools, your notebook, the app that keeps you on time, the pen that glides. Themes sharpen attention and keep practice fresh. You bring gratitude into your money life. It's easy to view finances as only scarcity and stress. You pause when you pay a bill and acknowledge what that payment made possible. Warmth in winter, light at 6 a.m., clean water on demand. You look at your spending and say thank you for the purchase that truly served you. A course that upgraded your skills, shoes that kept your feet healthy, a gift that strengthened a bond. Gratitude here doesn't excuse waste, it clarifies value. You let gratitude steer your consumption. You thank the book by finishing it, instead of skimming 5 more. You thank the meal by tasting it, rather than inhaling it while you scroll. You thank your attention by giving it a single worthy object at a time. Appreciation becomes the antidote to the constant itch for more. You create gratitude rituals in community. At dinner, alone, or with others, you share one thing you appreciated, one thing you learned, one person you want to acknowledge. In your team, you close the week with a 5-minute wins and thanks round. No grand speeches, just specifics. Specifics are the soul of gratitude. They cut through cynicism because they're hard to fake. You fold in future gratitude, pre-thanking yourself for the next small act of courage. Thank you for sending that message. Thank you for stepping onto that stage. The brain hears it and leans toward fulfilling the prophecy. You also practice advance appreciation for the growth a challenge will demand. It will stretch my patience. Thank you. Patience for arriving. You learn the grit gratitude loop. Effort creates progress. Gratitude notices progress. Noticing progress makes effort easier. On days when effort feels dry, you feed the loop on purpose. You mark a tally of sprints completed. You say out loud, "That was the 3rd time I showed up this week." You feel a flush of earned pride. Pride, healthy, grounded, fuels tomorrow's try. You make room for awe, gratitude's taller sibling. When you can, get to a horizon, a forest, a night sky, a museum piece that silences you for a minute. Awe resets your sense of scale. Problems shrink to human size, not to nothing, but to solvable. You carry that recalibration back to your desk and find you can breathe more easily around the same task. You give yourself permission to be new at gratitude. Some days it will feel mechanical. You'll write, coffee, sunlight, a joke, and it will feel thin. It's okay. Thin days still count. Then suddenly, a detail will crack open, a single leaf trembling on its stem, and the flood returns. You keep showing up. Depth returns because you kept the channel open when your mind argues. But what about the things I still want? The goals I haven't hit? You let gratitude and ambition stand side by side. You can be deeply appreciative and sharply driven at once. Gratitude says, look what's here. Ambition says, let's build what's next. Held together, they keep you both grounded and moving. Grounded movement is how you last. You place guardrails around scarcity talk. You catch yourself when you say, there's never enough time, and you shift to, time is tight, here's what gets my best hour. You swap I'm behind for I'm on my path. This isn't spin, it's choosing language that leaves you capable. Capable people do more with the same minutes. You close your day with a wind down of thanks that doubles as nervous system care. Lights lower, screens rest. You breathe in for 4, out for 6, 3 times. You jot 3 specifics you appreciated. 1 person to thank tomorrow. 1 value you honored today. You cap it with a gentle phrase, I did enough for today. Your body learns the association. Gratitude equals safety. Safety equals sleep. Sleep becomes your quietest gratitude practice of all. And when life knocks hard, when loss arrives, when plans evaporate, when the ground shifts under your feet, you let gratitude shrink to fit reality without disappearing. Sometimes the only thing to thank is the chair holding your weight or the friend answering your call. That is still gratitude. It keeps a pilot light on. Later, when strength returns, you will turn that flame up. For now, a glimmer is enough. Watch what happens as this practice compounds. Your attention grows precise. Your mood steadies faster after shocks. Your relationships feel richer because you name what is good in them while it's still present. Your work benefits because you notice what's working and repeat it. You feel less like you're bracing against life and more like you're in conversation with it. And that conversation, honest about the hard, alive to the good, creates the kind of resilience that doesn't crack at the first sign of pressure. You're not chasing a mood, you're building a muscle. You are becoming the person who can hold joy and grit at once, who can fight for what matters without losing sight of what's already worth loving. Let gratitude be the quiet rhythm beneath your days, the bass line you may not always hear, but always feel. It keeps you steady. It keeps you human. It keeps you strong. Gratitude steadies your footing. Purpose points your stride. With a calmer nervous system and a kinder inner voice, you can turn your days into deliberate steps in a direction that means something to you. Alignment is the art of making the way you spend your minutes rhyme with what you say matters most. When alignment strengthens, friction drops, decisions unclench. You stop living by accident and start living by design, value by value, hour by hour. Begin by clarifying what purpose is not. It isn't a grand slogan, a single job title, or a destiny engraved in stone. Purpose is a compass, not a cage. It names the qualities you want your life to amplify: truth, creativity, service, mastery, wonder, and the arenas where you want those qualities to land in the world. You carry it with you across roles and seasons. Roles may change, values travel. To surface this compass, you ask better questions. What kinds of problems do you feel oddly responsible for? Which moments make time slip? Deep work, deep laughter, deep quiet. When did you feel proud in a way that had nothing to do with applause? What are you willing to practice when it's not exciting? You mine your history for peak moments, a project you couldn't stop thinking about, a conversation that altered your trajectory, a time you stood up for something tender and true. In each memory, you circle the verbs: build, listen, translate, heal, teach, design, simplify, connect. Verbs are clues. You also try the anti-regret test. Imagine yourself decades from now, looking back. Which omissions would ache? The book never started. The kids never really seen. The community never served. The craft never mastered. Regret is a teacher. Let it speak now, while there's time to move. Draft a purpose line: plain, present tense, portable. I help people find clear words for hard truths. I design simple systems that free human time. I create learning experiences that unlock courage. I build teams where people can do the best work of their lives. Keep it short enough to memorize and flexible enough to apply in multiple contexts. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to orient yourself. Now you translate compass into choices. Purpose without practice is a poster. You build a simple stack: North Star, Near Star, next step. The North Star is your purpose line. The Near Star is a 90-day aim that makes the North Star tangible. Launch a pilot, restore your health metrics, save a buffer, mentor 3 juniors, draft 3 chapters. The next step is what fits in the next hour. Outline the pilot brief, schedule labs, set an auto transfer, book a 30-minute mentoring session, write 300 words. Big meaning becomes small moves you can do today. You sketch a purpose map across the domains of your life: health, relationships, craft, work, learning, service, spirit, play. For each domain, write 3 items: value, behavior, marker, value, vitality. Behavior: sleep before screens. Marker: average 7+ hours, 3 strength sessions weekly. Value: presence. Behavior: phone-free dinners. Marker: 4 nights a week face-to-face meals. Value: mastery. Behavior: deep work block before communication. Marker: 5 45-minute sprints. Mon-free. Values become visible when they wear behaviors. Behaviors become durable when they wear markers. You perform a calendar truth audit. Pull the last 2 weeks. Color events that directly serve your values in green. Neutral necessities in gray. Misaligned obligations in red. You are not judging, only seeing. Then you ask, which reds can I decline, delegate, or redesign? Which grays can I bundle or automate? Which greens want more room? You change what you can this week, not someday. Alignment grows where attention goes. To defend alignment in real time, you create a purpose score for tasks. Before you say yes, rate the task from 0 to 3 on contribution to your North Star. 0 Rs noise, 1 Rs necessary overhead, 2 Rs supporting work, 3 Rs core work. You schedule the 3s in your best energy hours. You batch 1s in low energy windows. You question the 0s with a polite no or a not now. Your week stops acting like a junk drawer. You adopt the 1-degree rule. Grand reinventions are fragile. Small tilts last. Each day you nudge 1 action, 1 degree closer to your compass. Rewrite a meeting agenda so outcomes are clear. Ask one deeper question in a 1-1. Spend the first 10 minutes of your workout on form. Begin your stand-up with a win that illustrates a value, 1 degree, daily. Compounds into a new coastline. Language matters. You swap "I have to" for "I choose to." Because I choose to work on the report because clarity is service. I choose to decline because focus honors my promise. Choice language returns agency. Agency sustains alignment when mood wobbles. You install anchors that pair purpose with habit. If your value is service, anchor a weekly outreach block. 3 thoughtful messages to people you can help. If your value is learning, anchor a morning page of notes from a book tied to your craft. If your value is connection, anchor a 10-minute check-in with someone you love before the day runs away. Anchors attach values to the scaffolding of time, so they stop drifting. You declare a power hour, the first defended hour of your workday, where only 3-level tasks live. You don't open inboxes. You open the file that moves your near star. You set a timer and start. This hour becomes sacred, not because you say it is, but because you keep it so. People learn how to treat your time by what you repeatedly protect. Of course, life throws crosswinds. Roles compete. Fatigue arrives. When you feel pulled apart, you run a quick alignment triage. Safety first. Health, shelter, core responsibilities. Then values. What small act honors a value now? Then velocity. One step that keeps momentum. You let some good things wait without guilt. You let the essential thing happen without delay. Saying no is part of saying yes to purpose. You carry kind scripts that preserve relationship while protecting aim. Thank you for thinking of me. I'm heads down on a commitment that matters. I need to decline to honor it. I can help with X or Y by Friday. Does either serve you? I'm not the right fit, but here's a resource. Scripts remove the panic of improvising in the moment and keep your calendar congruent with your compass. You watch for purpose drift, the subtle slide into busyness that feels productive but leaves you hollow. Drift signals include a calendar crowded with reactive meetings, work that generates applause but not meaning, and a persistent sense of being busy but behind. Once a month, you run a compass check. What did I do that clearly expressed my purpose? What did I do that looked like it but wasn't? What will I cut, keep, double? You adjust course before resentment sets in. Seasons matter. Alignment is dynamic because life is. A newborn shifts your sleep. A diagnosis shifts your bandwidth. A promotion shifts your scope. You treat purpose as a portfolio, core positions you hold. Health, intimacy, integrity, and tactical bets you size up or down. During intense seasons, you shrink ambition, but keep allegiance. Shorter workouts, briefer writing, quieter service. You let consistency be tiny, rather than let it die. Bring others into alignment. In your team, you translate values into behaviors. We say clarity. That means agendas with outcomes, deadlines with owners, feedback with examples. You open meetings with a 1-sentence purpose. We are here to decide X. You close with commitments. Who, what, when. You celebrate wins that embody values, not just metrics. That handoff honored our no surprises value. Culture is just group alignment practiced loudly. In relationships, you share compasses and look for overlap. You ask, what does a good week mean to you? You trade support plans. You schedule the rituals that express love, walks, meals, tech-free hours, and defend them like revenue. Purpose at home is lived in small, repeated kindnesses. That's where meaning thickens. When uncertainty rises, you hold values steady and strategies light. You backcast from your near star. If I had already achieved it, what 3 milestones got me there? What first step starts the chain? You test a step, watch the signal, adjust. You let reality be a partner, not an enemy. Purpose doesn't need certainty. It needs courage and iteration. Measure what actually predicts alignment. Lagging indicators, titles, likes, money, arrive later and can't be controlled. You track lead measures, deep work blocks kept, outreach reps done, practice sessions completed, family rituals honored, sleep debt repaid. You also track quality of attention. Did I feel present during the work that matters? You ask 3 evening questions. What aligned today? Where did I drift? What one thing will realign tomorrow? You keep the answers short and honest. Money and time reflect purpose in the real world. You run a values budget audit. Where did my last month's spending and hours express my compass? Where did they contradict it? You reroute one recurring expense toward a value. Courses over clutter. Trips with loved ones over impulse buys. You reclaim one recurring hour from numb scrolling to something that feeds your story. Alignment is arithmetic. Small reroutes, repeated. Protect recovery as purpose work. Sleep, movement, unstructured time. Play. These aren't distractions from meaning. They are its fuel. You schedule white space the way you schedule sprints. You enter a weekend with one intention that nourishes a value. Explore, reconnect, restore. And you let that intention actually win. Build rituals of return when you stray. Because you will. A morning reset, 3 breaths. Read your purpose line. Write the next step. A midday reset. Walk around the block. Ask, what would alignment do at 1:15? An evening reset. List one aligned act you did, however small, and set one cue for tomorrow. Resetting quickly is a superpower. Let story pull you. Purpose loves narrative. You frame your day as a scene in a larger arc. Today is a training montage. Today is the quiet research chapter. Today is the honest conversation that turns the plot. Story makes sacrifices make sense. Sense keeps effort alive. Hold humility close. Alignment is not moral superiority. It's fidelity to your chosen direction. You'll misread signals, overcommit, fall for shiny bait. You forgive, learn, and move. You keep beginner's mind with expert habits. You accept that meaning grows in layers. Messy first drafts, awkward starts, better second tries. Most of all, you keep listening. To the tug in your chest that says this. To the fatigue that says, not like this. To the joy that says, again. You make your life a series of aligned experiments. Try, notice, tune, over weeks. Your calendar begins to look like a map of what you love. Over months. Your work begins to sound like your voice. Over years. The gap closes between the person you hoped to be and the person who keeps showing up. You will know alignment is compounding when ordinary days feel quietly correct. Not dazzling, correct. You finish blocks with clean tiredness, not brittle depletion. You look at your week and see your values in ink, not only in intention. You say no with less apology, and yes, with more joy. People begin to trust your presence because you trust your own path. And you'll notice a new steadiness under your efforts, a hum that says, this is the right direction. Keep walking. Purpose points your direction. Learning powers your pace. When you commit to lifelong learning, you become adaptable, inventive, and quietly fearless. You stop asking whether you're ready and start getting ready by doing. You treat your mind like an athlete treats a body, training on purpose, recovering on purpose, and showing up for practice even when motivation ebbs. You learn how to learn, and that meta skill multiplies every other skill you touch. You begin with curiosity, the sturdy kind that survives busy days. Curiosity is a habit, not a mood. You cultivate it by asking better questions. What am I noticing that others gloss over? Where am I guessing instead of knowing? What would make this easier for the next person who tries it? You carry a small capture tool everywhere, a pocket notebook, a notes app, and you catch questions and sparks before they evaporate. By sunset, your curiosity has receipts. You design a simple learning system that fits inside your life. Systems beat willpower because they remove friction. Your system has 5 parts: capture, choose, study, practice, share. Capture the topics that tug at you. Choose one at a time so your attention can dig instead of skim. Study with intention. High signal inputs, not endless scrolling. Practice in public or in a safe sandbox until your hands know what your head thinks it knows. Share a tiny artifact of what you learned, an explanation, a checklist, a snippet others can use, so knowledge leaves a trail. You set near-term learning goals that serve your purpose. If your compass points to clarity, you might aim to learn storytelling structures. If it points to service, you might learn coaching questions. Make goals concrete. Within 6 weeks, deliver a 5-minute talk using a 3-act arc, or within 30 days, run 3 feedback conversations using open-ended prompts. Specificity creates momentum. You craft learning sprints, 2 weeks of focused exploration with a defined output. Output creates pressure that polishes understanding. A 3-page brief, a live demo, a small workshop, a 1-pager for your team. The sprint ends with a retrospective. What clicked? What needs repetition? What one constraint improved results? You schedule the next sprint while the energy is warm. You treat attention like tuition. You refine your information hygiene so you're feeding your mind signal over noise. You unfollow sources that spark outrage but teach nothing. You subscribe to a few deep wells, books, long-form pieces, lectures, and you read slowly enough to argue, annotate, and absorb. You keep a waiting room list, so new recommendations wait a week before entering. Most won't survive the delay, which tells you they were novelty, not nourishment. You read with a purpose pipeline. Skim to map the terrain. Slow read to extract the through line. Then synthesize into your own language. You refuse to copy and paste wisdom. You rewrite it as if teaching a bright 12-year-old. This is the Feynman instinct. Clarity proves comprehension. If you can't explain it simply, you don't own it yet. You build a knowledge garden instead of a pile. Interlinked notes that talk to each other. Each note holds one idea, a clear title, your paraphrase, a few connections. Over time, the garden grows paths. Paths become insights. You stop hunting for ideas in a maze of files and start bumping into them like old friends. Your garden is not a museum of quotes. It's a workshop of living tools. You lean on the science of memory. You use retrieval practice. Close the book and recall the key points from scratch. You use spaced repetition. Review at increasing intervals, so ideas move from short-term sparks to long-term circuits. You interleave topics during practice. Mix similar skills so your brain learns to discriminate, not just repeat. You make mistakes on purpose in rehearsal and correct them. Desirable difficulty builds durable skill. You reinvent practice as deliberate practice. Not vague reps, but targeted drills at your edge. You isolate a sub-skill, set a clear standard, and seek quick feedback. If you're learning presentations, you might drill openings only. 3 different hooks: recorded, reviewed, iterated. If you're learning design, you might recreate a classic interface pixel for pixel to sharpen your eye. 10 minutes of precise practice beats an hour of wandering. You find feedback that's kind and exact. You frame it for your reviewers. I'm testing clarity and pacing. Ignore visuals. You ask, where did your attention dip? What would you cut? What felt strong enough to keep? You translate feedback into edits within 24 hours, so insight becomes muscle. You thank people for specificity. You ignore vagueness without drama. You connect learning to action with projects. Courses build knowledge. Projects build identity. Choose projects that are small enough to finish and real enough to matter. Launch a tiny newsletter on one theme. Automate a weekly report for your team. Prototype a simple app that solves one annoyance. Projects force trade-offs, expose gaps, and generate artifacts you can show. Artifacts open doors. Doors lead to rooms where the next learning lives. You practice teach-back. After you learn, you explain it to someone else in plain language. If no one is available, you teach to your camera for 2 minutes. You will notice where you're understanding phrase. You will also notice the pleasure of turning confusion into clarity. Teaching is not the end of learning. It is the engine. You expect plateaus and plan for them. Progress often comes in steps, flat, then rise. On the flats, you shift goals from outcome to process. Number of sprints, minutes of focused drill, notes converted into your own words. You change the angle. New constraint, different teacher, adjacent skill. You give yourself a rest week where you maintain rather than push. Plateau is not failure, it is consolidation. You cultivate beginner's mind while keeping expert habits. Beginner's mind says, I don't know yet. I'm willing to be clumsy. Expert habits say, I protect practice time. I seek feedback. I review consistently. Together, they let you be both humble and effective. You stop waiting to feel confident before you start. You start, and confidence arrives later. Wearing calluses. You structure your days with learning anchors. Morning, read or review for 15 minutes before the world claims you. Midday, one drill at your edge. Evening, convert one idea into a garden note or small share. Weekly, a 1-hour session to connect dots across domains. Monthly, a demo, post, or presentation. Anchors turn aspiration into rhythm. You choose just-in-time learning when action depends on it, and just-in-case learning in small, delightful doses to keep breadth alive. Too much just-in-case becomes hoarding. Too much just-in-time becomes frantic. You keep a small curiosity ration for topics that simply light you up. Poetry, astronomy, cooking, because diverse inputs make creative outputs more likely. You defend the body that carries the brain. Sleep consolidates memory. Movement feeds attention. Food stabilizes mood. You treat these as non-negotiable. When learning feels foggy, you ask basic questions first. Did I sleep? Did I move? Did I hydrate? You fix physiology before you judge your ability. You build learning friendships, peers who care about growth the way you do. You form a small circle with a simple cadence. Each week, share one artifact, one question, one request. You celebrate attempts, not just outcomes. You ask each other for 10% bolder moves. Social learning keeps you honest and makes the path feel less solitary. You seek mentors with clear asks. You don't request. Teach me everything. You ask. Could you review this 2-minute clip and tell me one thing to improve? You respect their time. You implement what you receive. You report back with results. Mentorship becomes a series of solvable moments rather than an abstract wish. You practice source discernment. You evaluate claims by tracing them to origins, checking incentives, and comparing multiple explanations. You learn to hold uncertainty without paralysis. This seems promising. Here's my plan to test it. Skepticism here is care, not cynicism. It protects your time and your trust. You embrace learning in public at a scale that feels safe. Share drafts, notes, small wins. Invite commentary. Resist the urge to present only finished perfection. When people see your process, 2 things happen. Useful feedback arrives sooner, and someone a few steps behind feels permission to start. That moment alone can sustain a hard week. You keep reflection loops tight. At the end of a session, you answer 3 lines. What did I practice? What changed? What will I try next? Short answers beat grand essays because you'll actually do them. Reflection converts experience into insight. Without it, time passes but growth stalls. You design skill trees, visual maps of the capabilities that feed your larger aim. If you're building leadership, the tree might include conflict navigation, vision communication, hiring, coaching, decision frameworks. You choose 1 branch per quarter. Trees keep you from chasing random hacks. They keep your growth coherent. You learn to close the book and build the thing. Consumption comforts because it feels like progress. Creation clarifies because it exposes what you still need. You bias toward building. A prototype over another tutorial. A paragraph over another thread. A rehearsal over another panel. Your hands teach your head truths it can't get from reading alone. You reintroduce play. Play removes the fear of being wrong long enough for novelty to appear. You set a timer for 5 minutes and brainstorm 20 ridiculous solutions before you allow sensible ones. You sketch with your non-dominant hand. You remix a concept in a style that doesn't fit. Your brain loosens. Breakthroughs slip in through the side door. You respect limits. Not every skill deserves mastery. Some deserve competence. Others, delegation. You ask, what is the level of this skill that best serves my purpose? You stop upgrading what doesn't move the mission. Focus deepens where distraction ends. You honor the seasonal nature of learning. Some months are for planting seeds, wide reading, collecting questions. Some for cultivating, steady drills, small outputs. Some for harvest, shipping, presenting, teaching. When you expect seasons, you stop calling every quiet period a failure. You carry a gentle identity. I am a learner. Not, I should be further, but I show up. Identity reduces debate. When faced with a choice, scroll or study, delay or demo, you ask, what would a learner do in the next 10 minutes? Then you do that, without grand drama. Finally, you remember that learning is not only utility, it is joy. The small thrill of a concept clicking, the pride in a clean turn of phrase, the grin when a confusing feature finally works. These are reasons enough. Joy is renewable energy. You don't wait for it. You cultivate it by being here for the moment when understanding arrives, and by creating more moments where it can. You've been building skill, stacking habits, and feeding your mind. Now you put a spotlight on the future you're creating and rehearse it until your body knows the path. Visualization isn't wishful thinking. It's mental rehearsal that primes perception, emotion, and movement. When you picture a scene vividly and repeatedly, You teach your nervous system what success feels like. So when the real moment arrives, you recognize it and step in. You're no longer begging confidence to arrive first. You're generating it by practicing the conditions under which it shows up. You use your imagination as a training ground, part studio, part gym, where you make the future familiar and the next step safe. You begin by choosing a scene worth rehearsing. Keep it specific. Be successful is fog. Deliver a clear, steady 10-minute presentation to the leadership team on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Is light, you can aim. Write a one-sentence objective in present tense. You deliver this talk calmly and clearly, and the room understands. Present tense matters. It places you inside the moment, not outside hoping for it. The objective becomes your cue line. You'll return to it whenever your attention wanders. Now add sensory detail, because the brain encodes experience in images, sounds, textures, and feelings. Where are you? What do you see? Colors, faces, the shape of the room. What do you hear? The hum of the projector, the first rustle of chairs, your voice steadying after the opening line. What do you feel? The weight of your feet on the floor, your breath slow and low, a gentle alertness across your shoulders. Let the scene become specific enough that your body believes it. The richer the texture, the easier the brain is to convince, we've been here. That familiarity lowers threat and raises presence. Fold emotions into the practice. You don't try to remove nerves. You rehearse working with them. Picture the flutter in your stomach as energy arriving, not a warning. Imagine yourself naming it. Hello, energy, and directing it through your breath. Feel the lift when a line lands, the warmth of eye contact, the quiet satisfaction after you finish. Train your emotional vocabulary, steady, engaged, clear, warm. In this rehearsal, emotions become cues, not enemies, so you can read them and respond. Pair outcome imagery with process imagery. Outcome imagery shows the end state, the sent proposal, the handshake, the finish line. Process imagery shows the behaviors that produce it, opening with a story, pausing after the key point, asking one clear question, following the recovery plan when something glitches. Outcome without process can become fantasy. Process without outcome can lose aim. Together, they form a loop. See the aim, rehearse the steps, feel the finish. Repeat. The more you rehearse the steps, the more the finish stops feeling like a miracle and starts feeling like math. Add obstacle imagery, not to invite trouble, but to remove its power. Picture the Wi-Fi dropping, your mind blanking, a skeptical face in the front row. Now rehearse your response. Switch to local files. Glance at your anchor card to find the next sentence. Nod at the skeptic and say, "Great question. Let's test that assumption." Feel the small surge of relief as you recover. You train your body not to panic when a bump appears, because, in a real sense, you've already navigated it. Problems lose their drama when you've seen yourself solve them. Make the practice practical with a simple stack. Long view, weekly scene, micro rehearsal. Long view, once a week. Spend 5 minutes imagining a day, 3 to 12 months ahead, that aligns with your purpose, what you're working on, who you're serving, how your days flow. You aren't dictating every detail, you're strengthening direction. Weekly scene, each Sunday. Pick one key moment from the coming week and rehearse it for 3 minutes. Start, obstacle, finish. Micro rehearsal. Before a meaningful block, call, workout, writing sprint. Run a 2-minute visualization so your brain enters warmed up, not cold. Use a 2-minute script you can run anywhere. Sit or stand tall, and let your exhale be longer than your inhale. See the space where the action happens. Say your one-sentence objective in present tense. Picture the first 30 seconds, the opening move, the first line, the first step. Hear your voice calm and certain. Feel your shoulders low, eyes soft, attention bright. Imagine one small obstacle and your smooth response. See the scene finishing clean, the send button clicked, the meeting decision made, the run completed. Land in your body again and whisper, begin. Then you do. Keep imagination honest with whoop. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. State the wish. Run 3 deep work sprints after lunch. Picture the outcome. Progress on the chapter and a tidy mind. Name the obstacle most likely to interfere. Post-lunch slump, phone temptation. Craft the plan. If the slump hits, then I make tea and start a 2-minute warm-up paragraph with the phone in another room. Whoop respects friction and converts vision into action. Attach visualization to cues using implementation intentions. If it's 9:20 a.m., then you run the 2-minute visualization for the 9:30 presentation. If you open your writing document, then you breathe once and see the first 3 sentences appear. If you lace your shoes, then you picture the first block and the finish. Cues make practice automatic. Automation makes progress predictable. You're designing reliability, not hoping for it. Build state anchors, small, repeatable triggers that call up the mindset you rehearse. A phrase under your breath, calm and clear. A physical cue. Press 2 fingers together as you inhale, then release as you speak. A sensory anchor, the same instrumental track for deep work. A drop of a favorite scent before you present. Pair anchors with successful reps so the association strengthens. Later, one cue pulls your body into the state you trained. Useful when stakes are high and time is short. Design visual artifacts to keep direction visible. Tape a 1-page future scene inside your notebook. Place a few images near your desk that point to values and craft. Not possessions for their own sake. Calm spaces, useful tools, a snapshot of a team collaborating. Track behaviors you visualize actually doing. Sprints marked, reps logged, conversations had. Artifacts make the invisible visible. They remind you that visualization isn't a daydream. It's an invitation to act. Time your practice to natural transitions. Morning primes the day. 30 seconds of long view. 15 seconds of today's key scene. Pre-block primes performance. Your 2-minute script. Evening consolidates learning. Replay one moment you handled well. One you'll adjust tomorrow, and see yourself do it better. Repetition at the same moments trains your brain to expect the cue and deliver the state. You're teaching rhythm as much as content. Watch for 2 traps. First, vagueness. Imagery that's more slogan than scene. Fix it with place, time, senses, and the first action. Second, fantasy inflation. Enjoying the imagined finish so much that the work loses appeal. Fix it with mental contrasting. After the bright picture, immediately visualize the next hard, small step and take it. Vision is fuel only when tied to friction. You keep both in frame, the horizon and the next stone. Extend visualization to relationships and communication. Before a tough conversation, rehearse being present, listening fully, asking one clean question before offering your view. See yourself naming your intent. I want us to solve this together. Visualize pausing instead of defending, acknowledging impact before explaining context. Feel the dignity in both your spine and theirs. Your mind enters the room, walking a path it already knows, which makes grace more likely when stakes rise. Use imagery to support recovery. At bedtime, run a simple body scan. Imagine warm light traveling from your toes to your scalp, unclenching each region. Picture placing the day into a quiet river and watching it drift. Tell your body, off duty now. Sleep consolidates memory and repairs tissue. Visualization smooths the on-ramp to rest, so tomorrow's work has a stronger foundation. Recovery is part of performance. You rehearse it too. When anxiety spikes, combine visualization with breath and label. Picture your breath moving down. Let your exhale be longer. Widen attention from the single worry to the whole room. Label the sensation: tightness, heat, buzzing, and imagine it decreasing by 10%. See your future self sending back a simple assurance: you can do this next piece. Your mind follows the rope you've thrown it, and your hands follow your mind. Measure the effect so practice stays grounded. Keep a tiny log: scene rehearsed, minutes used, behavior executed, result. 2-minute pre-call visualization, opened with the question I planned. Call flowed, secured action item. Review weekly for patterns. Which anchors work? Which scenes benefit most? Where the obstacle plan needs refining? Data makes it real. Reality improves the craft. You treat visualization like any other skill. Iterate and keep the pieces that prove themselves. Scale the practice to teams. Open key meetings with a 30-second scene. It's 10:55. We've decided A or B with clear owners and dates. And dissent had a lane. Picture the midpoint where energy dips and rehearse the reset you'll use. A breath, a recap, a decision request. Groups can run Whoop too, naming the obstacle, time, scope creep, and the plan, parking items, clarifying owners. Shared imagery aligns behavior without a lecture. People act out the scene they can see. Prime identity, not just action. Visualize yourself behaving like the kind of person you're becoming. Patient when a delay hits. Consistent when novelty tempts. Generous when credit is due. See yourself choosing the value even when nobody's watching. Identity imagery leaks into choices all day. Choices, repeated, make identity true. You are rehearsing not only what you do, but who you are while you do it. Fold imagery into skill acquisition. Before a difficult drill, watch yourself perform the movement with clean form, hands, timing, posture. Slow the film, then speed it to real time. After a rep, replay the best micro moment and stamp it. There, keep that. Your nervous system learns from the film you feed it. Give it a bright, accurate reel. Precision in the mind invites precision in the body. Adopt a reset visualization for when things go sideways, mid-performance. Picture a small square on the floor beneath your feet. The now square. Step into it with attention and breathe once. Imagine your field of view narrowing to the next beat. Complete that beat, then widen again. One beat at a time restores flow. You practice this reset when stakes are low, so it's available when the room gets loud. Refuse to turn visualization into punishment. If a run or a talk or a conversation goes poorly, don't replay it 100 times to hurt yourself. Run your debrief, feelings, facts, fixes, then rehearse the improved version once. Give your mind a new groove to prefer. Practice moves forward. You keep the lesson and release the loop, and you return to action lighter. Keep the practice light enough to keep. 90 seconds in the morning, 2 minutes pre-block, a minute at night. On big days, maybe 5. Consistency beats intensity. Ritual beats heroics. You're teaching your brain that the future is familiar and the next step is safe. Safety frees skill. Skill creates results. Results reinforce the practice. You let that cycle spin. And when the day comes, the pitch lands, the training sticks, the conversation heals something. You notice the quiet recognition. It feels like you've been here before. You have. You brought tomorrow into today often enough that your hands knew what to do. You don't romanticize it. You nod, breathe, and do it again. New aim, new scene, same steady practice. That's how confidence becomes character. One last refinement. Let visualization serve gratitude too. After a good moment, replay it once in color. Say thank you, and store it where you can find it when doubt is loud. Your library of lived wins, some tiny, some bright, becomes a place to visit when the path looks dim. Step inside for a minute. Remember who you are when you're steady. Then step back into the work carrying that steadiness with you. You aren't pretending. You're preparing. You're not escaping reality. You're rehearsing how to meet it. With each scene you paint and each breath you tie to it, you shorten the distance between the person you intend to be and the person who shows up today. That distance is closing. Your vision is vivid. Now you turn it into rhythm you can keep. This is where everything you've practiced, mindset, self-belief, emotional control, discipline, resilience, focus, compassion, gratitude, purpose, learning, visualization, braids into a single steady operating system. Not a rigid schedule that snaps under pressure, but a living cadence that holds under real life. You're building the scaffolding that lets you climb, one rung at a time, every day, even when the wind picks up. Start with your core 4 daily, a simple stack that anchors you before the world starts tugging. 1. Mindset. Minute, 60 seconds on purpose. You breathe out longer than you breathe in. Read your purpose line and speak one sentence of intention in present tense. You work calmly and clearly on what matters. This is the switch that turns today into a decision. 2. Power Hour. Your defended first block for what moves the needle. No inboxes, no feeds, just your 3-level task. Timer on. 1 window. 1 verb. When the hour ends, you mark it. 1 line through a box. A tiny star in your notebook. Evidence in ink keeps your brain honest. 3. Body basics. Fuel the machine that carries the mind. Hydration within reach. Real food at reasonable times. Movement baked in. You don't chase perfect workouts. You keep the promise. Move daily. 10 minutes counts. You build pride you can feel in your bones. 4. Micro-gratitudes. 3 5-second catches throughout the day. Warm mug, helpful message, small win. You let each one land in your body. A breath, a soft jaw, a whispered thank you. Gratitude lowers your reactivity and raises your resilience without fanfare. Wrap these in 2 gate rituals, a 2-minute visualization before your power hour, and a 3-line evening close. What aligned? Where did you drift? What 1 cue serves tomorrow? You end with, you did enough for today. Enoughness is not lowering the bar. It's steadying the bar, where you can actually clear it. Again and again. Zoom out to your weekly review and reset. 45 minutes that prevent drift. Collect, sweep loose notes, open loops, stray promises into one place. Clarify. Convert vague intentions into next actions that start with verbs. Calendar. Defend your sacred hour blocks. Bundle admin. Place recovery. Cut. Delete or delegate anything that doesn't serve your North Star this week. Courage Rep. Choose one tiny brave you will do by Friday and schedule it. You keep a near star in view for the next 90 days, one aim that is specific enough to steer, flexible enough to survive weather. You define lead measures you control, sprints kept, outreach done, pages drafted, drills completed. Then you create 2 guardrails, a floor, the smallest version you will honor even on rough days, and a ceiling, the maximum you'll attempt to avoid burnout theater. Floors protect continuity, ceilings protect recovery. Build your stress playbook so pressure finds you prepared. 20-second reset. Label what you feel. Exhale longer than you inhale. Drop your shoulders. Choose the next tiny move. 5-minute reset. Step outside. Touch something natural. Name 5 things you can see. 4 you can touch. 3 you can hear. 2 you can smell. 1 you can taste. Ground returns. 30-minute reset. Walk without your phone. Let your gaze go wide. Ask, what would alignment do at 3:40? Decide one thing and do it. 24-hour reset for heavier hits. You run the feelings, facts, fixes debrief, then repair what you can and sleep. You don't push through, you move through. Pair this with sleep respect, consistent times, screens off early, a simple wind down, dim lights, light stretch, 1 page of something gentle. You treat rest as part of the job because it is. Strengthen your confidence loop with attempt architecture. Attempt calendar, a visible mark for every try. Empty squares nudge, filled squares prove. Evidence bank, a note with kind words received and small completions logged. When doubt gets loud, you read 3 lines. Artifacts of courage, keep 1 token from each brave act. A note, a screenshot, a ticket stub, where your eye can catch it. When memory blurs, artifacts anchor. Design your people system. Support pod, 3 to 5 humans who want you to win. Cadence, a 15-minute check-in once a week. Format, 1 win, 1 wall, 1 ask. You keep it short so it survives busy seasons. Boundary scripts, kind, firm phrases ready to protect your time. I'm heads down until 11. If it's urgent, text red, and I'll step out. Scripts remove panic from protection. Help ladder, 3 rungs of help you will ask for before you spiral. A template, a quick read, a short call. You practice saying yes when help is offered. You practice asking before the emergency. Upgrade your environment to match your aims. Focus zone, 1 surface cleared, 1 chair comfortable, 1 lamp warm, 1 object that points to your values. Noise blockers nearby. Friction design, make distraction hard to reach. Apps off home screen. Make deep work easy to start. Yesterday's file open at the next sentence. Recovery signals, a foam roller by the couch, a book beside the kettle, running shoes by the door. Your surroundings should nudge you toward the life you claim to want. Add a let-go ritual so you travel lighter. Release list, once a week. Write 3 things you will stop carrying. A grudge, a timeline myth, a task that doesn't belong to you. You cross each out slowly. Forgiveness note, 1 paragraph that says, I see how you did your best with what you knew. Here is what you know now. You read it aloud to yourself. Now square, a literal square of tape on your floor. When rumination spikes, you step into it, breathe, and commit to the next beat only. Presence is your path through. Write your identity lines, 3 simple sentences you live toward. You are a learner who shows up. You are a steward of attention. You are a person who keeps kind promises to yourself. Identity reduces debate. When options multiply, you ask, What would a steward of attention do with the next 10 minutes? And you do that. Create fail-safe subroutines for common wobble points. If you oversleep and miss your power hour, then you protect a 25-minute mini-block at lunch. If you blow a deadline, then you repair within the day. Acknowledge, offer a new date, add one safeguard, and log the safeguard. If you fall off a habit for 3 days, then you return with the floor version today. No interest fees, no self-trial. You vote again with action. Build rings of intensity so you can flex without quitting. Green days, you feel strong. Full power hour, drill, outreach, movement, deep close. Yellow days, you're stretched, floor version of each habit. Red days, you're depleted. You keep only 2 things, sleep respect and 1 5-minute act aligned with your values. Even on red, you don't abandon yourself. Track simply. You don't turn your life into a spreadsheet you resent. You keep a scorecard on a post-it for the week. Power hour, move, gratitude, courage rep, sleep 7/8. At week's end, you circle what held and star what to adjust. The goal of tracking is tuning, not judging. Practice money alignment quietly. 1 small auto transfer the day you're paid. Future you thanks you. 1 monthly review where you ask, what spending truly served my values? What bled energy? You reroute 1 recurring expense towards something that feeds your story. Education over clutter, connection over impulse. Keep play in the system. A creativity hour that doesn't need to monetize. A walk with no podcast. Cooking something new. Play unclenches the mind, so insight can enter. Rigid systems crack. Living systems bend. Name your promises and your permission slips. Promises. You show up for your power hour, Monday through Friday. You move your body daily in some way. You tell the truth kindly. Permission slips. You are allowed to be new at hard things. You may choose tiny over nothing. You can rest before you are wrecked. You embed rituals of return because streaks break. Morning return, 3 breaths. Read purpose. Write the next sentence. Midday return. Step outside. Ask 1 alignment question. Take 1 aligned action. Evening return. 3 lines and lights down. You return as many times as it takes. That is not failure. That is faithfulness. Finally, you write your first 30 days. Next 60 days. First 30. Install Core 4. Defend 1 power hour. Run a weekly review. Complete 4 tiny braves. Establish your attempt calendar. Ask for 1 piece of exact feedback. Set sleep times. Next 60. Ship 1 meaningful mini project tied to your near star. Teach 1 thing you learned. Do 1 gratitude visit. Prune 2 misaligned commitments. Design 1 recovery weekend with intentionally low input. You don't wait to feel ready. You start where you are, with what you have. Today, you keep what works. You fix what doesn't. You let what's heavy go. You practice being the person you intend to be in the minutes you actually have. Over weeks, your days begin to rhyme with your values. Over months, your results begin to echo your intentions. Over years, your story coheres because your system held when motivation wavered, when uncertainty rose, when life happened. You didn't need perfect conditions. You needed steady ones, and you built them. When doubt surfaces, you come back to the simplest truth. You are allowed to begin again. 1 breath, 1 box checked, 1 kind sentence, 1 step into your now square. You don't have to outrun anyone. You only have to keep your promise to the person in your shoes. Keep it today. Keep it tomorrow. Let the keeping become who you are. Life doesn't get easier. You get stronger, and now you feel what that means. You've cleaned the lens of your mind, chosen the story you live from, and practiced the skills that turn intention into rhythm. Belief that holds under pressure, breath that steadies, discipline that returns, focus that protects, compassion that mends, gratitude that widens, purpose that points, learning that compounds, vision that rehearses, systems that last. None of this demands perfection. All of it invites persistence. As you carry this forward, keep the simple cadence. Notice, choose, act, reflect, then act again. When you wobble, and you will, you return with kindness and with a floor you can keep. When you win, you savor for a breath and turn the lesson into a habit. You let your mornings begin with a sentence of purpose and your evenings close with a line of thanks. You keep one brave alive each week so courage stays warmed. You protect your sleep because tomorrow deserves your whole mind. The world will still bring crosswinds. People you love will need you. Projects will stall. Plans will change. Yet you will not be at the mercy of any one moment, because you are becoming the person who can meet moments with steadiness, with clarity, with heart. You won't always choose perfectly, but you will choose again. That is the muscle. That is the way. Look at the path behind you. Every attempt, every repair, every small kept promise. Let that evidence quiet the voice that says you can't. You can, and you are. Look at the path ahead, unwritten, honest, waiting. Step onto it with the tools you've earned and the kindness you deserve. Breathe, begin again. Your life is not an accident. It is a series of aligned experiments. Keep running them. Keep learning from them. Keep going.